G'day and welcome back for more Scrapyard survival, and my Scrapyard is going to hopefully get a bit more, let's say interesting today, as I add my extra warehouse to it. But in order to do that, I need some sort of, I guess, crane, but I may have to build something a bit more simple than a fully functional crane. The reason being, I need to get this warehouse aligned perfectly while also not jiggling. And the more points of articulation I put in, the more jiggle I'm going to get. And I do need to have no jiggle because I need to be able to go into the control panel and convert it to a static grid. So I need to be able to... I thought there was a control panel in here. Let's walk over the door. Fine. I need to be able to go to the info page and click convert to station. That's only going to work if it is already very stable. So this is currently a station. I converted it to station last time. Oh, I should disconnect this and go recharge it. Let's go sort that out because I'm going to probably need some power on this at some point. Then I'm going to start the prep work. What is that? Oh, probably something that exploded. Oh, right. There's a letter on the ground here. I should probably get rid of that. Oh, that's where I was thinking. I need somewhere to charge these little, like some of these little batteries up. And I was like, I need something converted to small grid. Oh, what's that? A converted to small grid thing? Perfect. I think this is going to be the way to go. I set up a few merge blocks on here. And then have a nice little charging spot for a few little batteries to use them on various projects like this one, where I just need a little boost of power, or say for the truck that's dead again because I still haven't made a connection for it, because I'm going to make a connection for it in the warehouse. That sort of stuff. There we go. Set that to recharge. I can then use that later. Okay. Step one, get rid of this ramp. Or at least this edge of it, because I think I'm going to have to get rid of this whole ramp anyway, and deal with that building after. Then I have to decide if the little solar awning is a problem or not. Because the solar awning means that my warehouse can't actually come as close to this one as I might have liked. But I think it should still be okay. If I try and line my warehouse, a new warehouse, up to... Oh, that's not nice to be, is it? Placed these down wrong last time. Should have used that. So if I line it up to about this one, that'll leave me with the warehouse going like that. Yeah. And as many of you have pointed out, I don't need to worry about whether I've got a power source on the new warehouse. I can actually link it up to the other one using connectors or hinges or whatever. It'll just depend on whether I want to have some sort of hookup like that. Although I suppose I could make a hookup like that by digging underground and then hide it underground. I just have to make sure that every single grid that ends up underground is static. So I can't use a hinge, but I can use connectors with things slightly askew so that I can get a curve or a gradual change in position while the connectors still function. Because what I'm thinking is it might be nice to have a cargo hookup in each of these garages so that I can work on vehicles in there without having to walk all the way over to my cargo over there. So that's something I think I might try and do later. So, what I need to be able to do with this warehouse is I need to be able to rotate it to get the angle correct. I need to level it. I think what I'll do is make a perfectly flat platform to drop it onto, because then I can grab it, pick it up, rotate it, and it'll already be level to gravity, or level to the same gravity that my warehouse is, because we are getting, yeah, I think that's the best way to go. So, have I got enough space? I think I do have enough space to drop this if I just build straight underneath it. Now, I'm probably going to need to move this forward a fair bit, because that's not, there's too much terrain there. Okay. Have I got my battery charged so I can put it back on there? Don't think I need power on this grid, but I've got to get it moving a bit. and try and use my crane to get it in roughly the right spot, and then I'll drop it and lock it. Doing things out of order. My brain is not working properly. I'm going to choose to blame, in this instance, the rather unfortunate daycare-related illness that I'm currently suffering. Okay. Auto. Let's check the parking brake is on. Yep, parking brake is on. Alright. Let's get rid of that line that I built, because that's not going to be helpful. These out of the way a little bit. And info. Convert to ship. Convert to ship is not possible. Well, that's not helpful. Oh, right, of course. Of course, convert to ship not possible, because I'm in the ground. Well, I think I've just converted it to ship. That all felt very mobile. Learning my lessons from last time. Try and attach like this should allow me to lift it. I go extend that out. Nope. Apparently, I can't go that far out, but I still want to grab. Okay, grab. Then we can lift. That allows me more control. Parking brake on the crane. Parking brake off the warehouse. Then come down onto the flat. Warehouse park brake off. Should probably have cut that piston off. I think I'm now entirely over the flat. So I should be able to drop this. Now, do I want to drop it at the full block? I suppose it doesn't really matter. I just want to be able to drop it to get it perfectly level. The reason it needs to be perfectly level and level to this grid is that I want it to interact with this grid as naturally as possible. So if it's as level as I can get it, then it should do that. So that's why I'm going to do this first. Because although this lake bed is quite flat, it's not necessarily the same flat as you can see. With these half blocks now being partially in the voxel where they were entirely out before. So, next step. Disconnect from the crane. Then grind off the wheels. And it'll drop. Then I can start building my crane apparatus. And once I get the crane done, one of the things I'm going to need to do is get rid of all of these full blocks. I can have no full blocks. Because I would have to do too much digging to get them in the ground. So I'm going to do it all on the half blocks. Crane. Let's lower this more gently than just releasing it. And let's lose some wheels. Bloop. Bloop. And bloop. 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 Okay. Probably need to lose that piston, but we'll see. I really hope this doesn't explode. Slightly worries me that it would, but it didn't. Good. So in theory, I've now got this perfectly level with this base. So now all I need to do is get it to the right angle related to the base, and then the right translation in relation to the base. And those two remaining bits should, in theory, be easier to achieve with a single hinge to get the right angle, and then a bunch of pistons to move it into place. And I'm considering the possibility that I will even go with progressive pistons. So use one, move it as far as it can go, build another separate rig with another single piston to move it, just to prevent as much of the jiggle as I can. And also having the piston on the static grid rather than on the mobile grid. Oh, here. Ow. Got myself off the thing. Yeah, let's get my crane hooked up to the base again. See how cool it looks with having the buildings not all on exactly the same rotation? That's why I'm doing this. Oh, I think it might be quicker if I just go out here, do a U-turn, and then turn around rather than doing a 10 billion point turn, avoiding hitting the bus. However I do this, it's going to have to be lifted. So we go piston, then a hinge. The hinge, rotate it like this. Even though I just said I'm going to try and reduce the number of things, I'm going to put another piston or two on this. Because I'm looking at it going, I can actually probably do this all in one go. And then I can always guess, is jiggling too much, switch down the number. That might actually make more sense. Rather than assuming it's going to be a problem, assume it's not, and then fix it if it is. Now, another alternative I could have used to align this perfectly to the same grid would be putting a merge block on the end of the piston that I'm using to link it up to my base. So, say I merge blocked this on, it's going to align it. It's going to force that alignment based on this piston and this hinge. I didn't think about that until just now when I realized, oh, I probably should have done it this way. Oh, whoops. Still, having it closer to that for the merge blocking, probably a good idea, because potential for explosion is very high if you're not quite aligned when you use a merge block. I did not need the second piston. That was a mistake. Let's see. Can I get these to merge? Or I kick that off its stand? Will it cause everything to explode when it merges? Nope. It's good. Alright. You are getting shear inertia tensor, which is not going to be good for any of this. You are going to go up. You are getting shear inertia tensored. That should make it all a lot more rigid. Now we bring these both back. And see what sort of angle I can get and what position I can get and what else I might need to try and get this to the position I wanted it to be in. This goes this way. Stop there. It's about to run into the ground. And this one comes the other way. I should be able to get this close to the 45-degree angle I'm after. How's that looking? Oh, almost hit some things. Fine though. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, wrong way. I love just seeing a warehouse just spin carefree like this. So this is definitely not going to let me get close enough. I'm going to have to build a new rig to get closer, but oh well. It's what it is. Okay, how's that holding? Oh, that's... This might be able to get... Oh... Might be able to get close enough. This goes all the way to 90. And then this one... Hinge lock on. Upper limit 45. Then we go all the way to 45. Is that gonna, where's that going to end up? Because that's going to give me the right angle, but it's not going to be the right position. It's not as far off from it as I was thinking it might have been, though. I mean, I forgot to do a step when I was making this that I needed to do, which was raise this piston first, so then it could lower into position. But that's not too bad. I don't want to do this from third person though. Yeah. You know what? I'm quite happy with that as a position. I suspect, however, it doesn't line up neatly to one of these blocks. That I'm going to have to be able to fix. Yeah, it's not neatly lining up to a line of like edge blocks. I need to be able to move it a bit. Because if I put, say, these... there's going to be a sizable gap there. I need to move it a little bit. So, now that I've got it roughly in the right position, I can now create a second crane, which I should have made properly first time. But anyway, second crane, learning from my mistakes. That will do the final positioning. Since I'm going to have to remove these anyway. Start writing them out. Steel plate I need. Then the reason that ramp is going to go is that I'm going to actually pave across this entire open space. And then make a single smooth ramp that enters this area. Which means I will have to think about how I might come up with a smooth ramp to get up to this level. Or a way to drop that whole rig down one block. That whole warehouse. And I'm not sure which I want to do. Alright, so let's start far enough away this time. I need to be able to move it forward like this. Left, right, forward, and up, down. Then I need a single hinge to get to the correct angle to match it. So let's put the hinge at the very end. Start with a piston here. Let's get the parts. So this time, let's raise this up at least 2.5 meters. Actually, let's put a block on it first. We can reach to build other stuff. We go like this. I was just thinking, should I have a hinge at the start so that I can move it directly like this and this? But if I put my translations like this, I might actually get more out of the translation abilities of these two pistons. I think it should just be a hinge needed on the end of this, if it gets close enough. So let's extend these out as far as they go. See where they end up. See if I actually get close enough to the warehouse. I don't need another piston or some other blocks on there. Bring this one a bit shorter because I know I'm not going to want to bring this to the left, but I may want to push it further right. So if I need more ability to do that, I need this piston to be back. I need these two to combine to move in this direction, and to do that, yeah. Okay, put hinge on here. Okay, then we lift this up 5 meters, and we merge it higher. As long as I can still get build vision controls on these pistons, this height will not be a problem. Let's just make sure. Oh! Cool. My telehandler might not need to park around the corner. I was just thinking, originally my plan for this warehouse had been to park the trailer truck and the bus in here, but it's probably better to park the trailer truck and my telehandler. It's a good thought to have just before the server restarts. This one I want to remove. Put that there. Merge block here. Oh, I hope this doesn't explode when I get these merge blocks to merge. It's going to take some fiddling. Once I get that merged, I hopefully will be able to reach the position I want to reach. About there. Then I need to do some weirdness. To move this over, to move this horizontally, I need to bring this one back to about there. Then I can move this one forward. Move the remaining distance. And a little bit too far. Nope. You go past the line. Oh, nope, it's merged. Okay. Let's disconnect the other one. The original. The first. Now. Now I gotta hope I can get this into the right position that I want. So let's place down a bit of the line that I want it to be on. I want it to... yeah, line it up like that. This bit... all these bits have to... all those bits have to come off. At least get these front bits done. Then at least get the front edge removed. And I'll see what other bits I have to get out of there so that I can get down to the right height once I get down to that. Okay. Hinge is locked at incorrect position. Let's start moving these. Let's get rid of some of that jiggle. Did not like the jiggle. How close are we now? Oh. So close. So very, very close. Now the thing that I'm also considering here is whether I try and line this up twice. What I mean by that is, do I also make it so it aligns? Oh, poop. Ah, poop. Did it bad. Disconnected them. I'll also try and align it this way, so that I get it perfectly in that corner. Probably should. Don't want to have to do this twice. Okay, so I need to move it toward this way a bit further, which means probably contracting both this piston and extending that one. Let's contract this one a bit further. Try extending the other one until this lines up back in the correct position above that thing. Now this is going to be tricky and require me to go in and out of controls a lot of times. So extend. That's pretty close. How is it on this end? Oh! Let's drop this. Let's see how close I am. I am very surprised by that outcome. Down she comes. Okay, how's it looking? Now that I got a bit closer. Oh, that's pretty close. Like, it's not perfect yet, but dang. For a first eyeballing of it, I am pretty happy. Also, the bit that exploded off the back, perfect bit to have exploded. Because it's the bit that I would have had to cut off or dig around anyway. How convenient. Now, let's just make sure I am happy with this as a position. In this warehouse. I like that this is making this space feel a lot more open. Because I didn't like the idea of making it a closed little U shape. I wanted this to feel a bit more open. And then if I put more buildings... let's bring up the menu so that I can use my pointer. If I put another building along here, I then have this nice wide open space that's not perfectly square. And a suggestion I was given, which I really quite liked, is that ultimately the sign that's on top of my warehouse here could go on an archway over here. Maybe I could steal one of the rail bridges if I find another one and use it as my arch, or as my bridge across as an entryway. Something like that. Because I think that'd be cool. And then I pave all this area in here. I have a nice little ramp out here that's nice and super smooth to drive up on. And then at some point, I need to build a fuel facility for everything as well. So we can continue our goals to leave this place. Which is arguably not really a goal, it's just an end point. Honestly. What the heck? The drill is still in there? I did not think that had survived the trip. Huh. Doop, doop. Let's drop it. Let's see if it goes down. Oh, look at that. Nope. I'm running into something. Look at that. I think I'm running into the ground back here. But suddenly... Where's my drill at? At this point, it's potentially obvious how much I am obsessed with building off-grid. As in, if a game gives me a grid that I'm supposed to build on, I will try everything to see if I can manipulate its build system. Once I understand it well enough, at least. To manipulate its build system so that I don't have to build on that perfect grid. Which is, I suspect, a thing that is shared amongst a lot of people who like building in games like this. Once again, be happy that we have the server completely resetting all of the planet's voxels every day. So any mess I make of this is not an issue. So I normally don't like making a big mess of voxels around my base. I try and be quite protective of them. Right, that should give me enough space to get down to that lower bit. Build that up so it's not weird. See? Will the piston go down? It's getting there. It's getting there. Oh, stopped. Oh, this is so close. So close to perfect. And this is where block edges actually come in quite nicely. Come in quite handy. The block edges are actually going to make this look even better. Because I've got a little bit of a margin for error that I otherwise wouldn't have. Now, where am I touching? This is why the half blocks are really nice. Because if this was full blocks, I would have had to drill out the entire thing. Half blocks mean that I can, hopefully, have only had to drill out half as much of the thing. Or even less than half. Already close enough I can just walk straight up and over it. But we're going to get this perfect. Because I want perfect. Oh. Perfect. Is that right? No. No, it is not. It's still a step. Are the panels now the problem? They are. I have a solution. I suspect there's still some voxel being a problem over that way. Up here, that looks very, very close to the surface. Alright, try again. Can we get low enough? Oh. 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 I think that's too low. Yes. So smooth. Alright, let's get that tiny little bit up. I'm going to turn that off. velocity to 0.01. Toggle on, off, on, off. It's too low. Still. Oh. Okay. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to align those two armor edge pieces. And you can see just the few pixels this is off. So let's see if I can get this spot on. I need a button panel so I can control this right near where I'm actually seeing the changes. Otherwise this is going to take all year to do. So first control will be lifter, toggle on off, and reverse. Oh, that's so close. In fact, that might be so close that I'm willing to just accept it. Yeah. That is as close as I'm likely to get. Okay, now the next thing, which I probably should have done before I decided to get this as perfectly set up as I could, is check that I can build next to it. I thought I would be able to, but... Oh yeah, I can. Good. Oh dear. Ah. I've left a gap. Oh, there's always going to be a gap, isn't there? It's a miracle the gap is as small as it is. Oh, of course. Because I would have had to calculate the exact width of this warehouse where it matches the 45-degree segment of the slope. I can't believe I got this close with the just not even planning that at all. Nice. Well, knowing that, I'm a lot happier about the fact that this is not perfect. Okay, so there is a simpler way to do what I'm doing. I don't know if it has any big disadvantages. Well, I mean, it does in that certain connections will be uglier. But if you make the walls and lift them off the floor, build the complete floor, lower it down, put a connector in the corner, put a connector on the base, lock the connectors, convert it to a static grid, voila, done. The floor doesn't align to the walls. Perfect. Well, I didn't do that, and that means I can put shelves against the walls and I can do stuff like that, I guess. I hate it when I realize an easier way to have gotten basically the same thing that still would have been just as cool. But I realize this late in the piece. I'm going to attempt to convert this to static grid, because it is now in as good a spot as I am going to get it. Okay, info. Oh, it's flickering on and off. This is what I was afraid of. What if I convert you to share and instance on? Does that make it stable enough? No. Now I run into the same problem here as I would as I have with numerous other things, where I can't just build a block into the ground and then slap a merge block on here and then merge block to that, because that will explode this block as the mobile grid here makes the static grid here mobile inside voxel. If I were to try and do that, I would need the block that is inside voxel to be connected to a grid that has more blocks than this has. And that's a lot of blocks to place down just to try and use a merge block. So I'm going to try and figure out a different way to do this. What else can I try here? Oh, hold up. Duh. Put a mag lock down. Then I can get rid of the subgrid shenanigans anyway. I can get this to auto lock. Something that is static and placed right in front of it. That is locked. Now, can I convert you to a static grid? Convert to station. It is now a station. Aha! Why didn't I think of doing that at the start? It's really annoying. Also, what's going to be annoying? There's going to be dirt in the corner of this. And I am never going to be able to sweep up properly. It's always going to reappear. Red dust in the corner. That is what I call success, despite being my own worst enemy. Now I need to connect this to my base. I'm going to start under here, I think. I'm going going to make an underground mounted connector that'll then just be permanently hidden. It'll make for a nice invisible connection. So having never played with resetting voxels like this, I'm going to take advantage of it. Make things pretty. Even if it does feel a little on the cheesy side. So let's start with just establishing a power connection. I will deal with a conveyor line another time if it seems like something that I actually want to have. So we need to have a connector here first. And I need to work out what angles the connectors can tolerate. And basically have a string of connectors in order to be able to hook them up with static grids. So I do not want under voxel hinges. That always seems like a bad idea. Now, since connectors can be placed in voxel, I should be able to try and get the angle correct. Placing this in voxel, if it's going to let me. See if that's too much of an angle or if it's going to let me lock there. It is not going to let me lock there. This is going to take a lot of components. This can be a really expensive connection. Like, sure, clean, but oof. Am I even going to have enough computers to pull this off? So basically, I have to keep going until I get 45 degrees out of this, while still having these ready to lock when it's welded up. I can't use small grid, because you can't have small grid inside voxel, because that the game does not like. I have to use large grid. And I have to use 2 large grid connectors for each bit of angle that I change. I suppose I only do need to get 45 degrees. I don't have to get that fast. This may be... Oh no. That doesn't work. What I can do, though, is I can get this placed without having to build all of them now. Then I can go hunting for computers to finish the job, which I actually kind of like the idea of. Actually having a particular job in mind as I go out and about salvaging, looking for stuff. Because I've been, for the most part, collecting stuff, then finding a use for it. Not the other way around. Oh, there's another issue with this. Oh, man. I have to get the distance right as well. So, what I was thinking I could do is write that one down. Most of the way. Let's turn that off.
Inventory full.
Now we place another one. So that'll lock. Yep. Sweet. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do this. It's getting a bit weird, but it's fine. Actually, I'm going to do this. I should make it so that this can become the conveyed connection later. How far off is all of this ending up? Okay. Like, that's an annoying amount. That is the problem with doing it that way. I have an idea of how to correct that. It involves a whole extra step, but that looks like alignment-wise, that's going to be good. Something's going to be really tricky with this if I don't get it all finished before the voxels reset. I'm in a bit of a bind, because I won't be able to easily drill down to them to weld them up, because I'll probably damage them in the drilling. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to have a connector drop down from the roof here, conveyor there, then we go to connector. We're going to bring it back a little bit this way. Then we go conveyor, and it still doesn't line up, does it? No! I'm just going to try different positions until I find one that actually works. In fact, I may have just made a really easy one. If I hadn't gone for the 90 degrees, this might have actually just worked straight off the bat. Yay! Alright. Time to weld all the things. And I hope I have enough computers. I think I have enough computers. I suspect I don't have many left after that, though. I have 28 left. Oof. Still, I had enough, which is surprising to me. And sort of disappointing, because I'm looking forward to doing some scrapping, actually. Oh well. More building, then. It's not a bad thing. It's just not what I was anticipating. Actually, if I'm thinking I'm close to a point where I'm looking for specific things, then I should be thinking about making a flying vehicle. Here we go. All connected up. Which means we should have power on this now. And that we do. Yeah! Powered. Sort of attached to the base. Sort of not. Exactly as I wanted. Oh! Oh, right. That could totally work. I can get rid... I was thinking through this ramp and how it kind of... Well, it's not going to work with me having paved this area. But what if I don't need a ramp for what's put in that hangar? What if that's where my flyer goes? And I just need stairs. One big advantage of making this all paved is that dragging stuff into the warehouse is going to be a lot easier because when I offload it, it's already at the correct level. I don't have to lift it up that slope that I was always battling with.
Inventory full.
Super handy. For a second I was thinking I might also run out of steel plate, but no. I have over 5,000. I will have plenty for this because using the half-light blocks means that you don't actually end up using all that much. Even covering a large area like this. I've mentioned it before, but the reason I don't use the plate when I use the half blocks is that the half blocks actually tile the texture better than the plate does. Plus, they're easier to place. With it being nighttime, as I'm welding most of this up, I've been thinking about my lighting situation and whether I want to do something a bit different to what I've been doing so far and just basically trying to light the place up with spotlights. I do like having the area spotlights mounted up there, but I think having some interior lights, throwing some general lighting around might be helpful too. And previously I'd talked about making some lampposts. I've actually got a good situation to test how functional that might be. So I'm going to do that right now. How full are you? You are full. Perfect. So if I disconnect you, toggle block off. Just don't really need to move this, but whatever. I have now. Let's go grab the stuff for an interior light. If I put an interior light... Oh, hang on. And a control panel. With an interior light on this. Switched on. Doesn't matter the distance that they're projecting out. That uses the same power regardless. Now, control panel. You can then see how long this will last. So our small battery would last 35 days. Okay. That's actually enough that I might be on board with this. Because what I was thinking about is if I have a bunch of single battery things like that on landing gear, I can move them into place with the telehandler, set up something that looks like a nice little street lamp. Using that, attached to a small grid, I can place them a bit more freeform around here. Locked down to the base. And that could be a nice way of getting some extra lighting around here without having to go to spotlights, which, performance-wise, we will run into a problem if I keep trying to light the entire place with spotlights. Yeah, okay. Now I need to think about a design for that, which I have not put any thought into, so I should do that. Come back to that. So thinking about these lights that I want to build, I imagine it's going to make it simplest if I put the battery on the bottom. However, I also need to consider that I need a way to recharge them. And, well, that's tricky. Because I could either try and put something like a small connector on there, and then I could go around with a small vehicle, connect up to each one, charge it up, disconnect. Doing that once every month or so, which is probably one of the better ways to go about it. Or I can go around with something and build a merge block onto it, which means that when it's not being charged, it doesn't need to have that bulk. And if I'm going to use neon tubes as the core of this, that's probably the way I'd go. And I'm not sure whether the neon tubes are the right thing to do. Now, obviously this is a strange thing. Under normal circumstances, most people would probably find this a strange thing to be spending so much time on, but I don't know. I feel like if I can get something like this that works here, this is the sort of thing that I could utilize in lots of different builds. Lots of different ways to make this something cool. Actually, I've used the wrong neon tube here. Don't want to use the one with that little bracket on it. That, to me, looks ugly when it's in small grid. So we want to go that one. And definitely want to get it above the height of a single large grid block. I'll put another ramp on this side, but use a 45 for it. I can get a little bit higher. Whatever else I decide about these things, one thing I do need to make sure of is that I'm not going to design them in such a way that they need more than one light. As soon as I add more than one light, I am instantly making this last half as long. That is a bad idea, because then I have the problem of something that lasts half as long and having to charge it up so much more often. I don't want to do that. Thinking something like this is probably just about... Oh no. Oh. This is something I probably should have checked before I got this far along. There isn't actually a way to attach to these with blocks I have, except for on the end there. What if... Let's just weld those top ones up because I want to see how this looks. With... No! It doesn't work. I really wanted to use the light panels on these. Works. Oh. Oh, okay. Hang on. I've just placed this wrong. Need to get rid of that and see how it looks if I put this out here. So I could use this offset light, but I think I want to use the light panel. Does that look really wonky? I don't know how I feel about it. Okay, so this is one option I've got, I guess, with that bit going to the end there. It just feels really flimsy. I know it is quite robust. Like, if you look at the thickness of that neon tubing in terms of actual measurements, it's quite large. But when it's compared to everything else within Space Engineers, it feels really flimsy, and I'm actually not on board with that. So I think I'm going to need to come up with a different design. There's one option though. I think the other design that I was considering was this, and using cylindrical columns. It's a bit more at the Space Engineers scale that we're used to dealing with, and that weirdly probably helps it. Which honestly, to me, that... Whoa. Tripped over on a gyro. That to me feels a bit more Space Engineers-y. Obviously, an alternative option if I'm going to stick it to large grid is to actually build with large grid first and like lock these down on top of interior pillars. But I think I'd like to have these fitting off, kind of off kilter, a bit off thingy. Off grid. Off grid. Words. Words, yes. Good. Oh my god. My words are failing me so badly. Oof. Yeah. Cool. I think that's the design I'll go with. One last thing. There is an added advantage of doing things this way compared to doing them with the neons. You got more color options. Like, the neons kind of has to be in black. Oh, that's not helpful that I knocked that over. Because otherwise the neon itself needs to be lit up, and I'm not... And I don't think for this sort of thing, that's actually what I'd want. Yeah. I think if I find a bunch more small batteries, I might make a bunch of these lights. Don't think I'm quite ready for that yet, though. I've got some more big... Whoopsie.
Inventory full.
Some more big bits to do around here first. For example, I need to decide where this road surface is going to end. That's just me letting myself get sidetracked. And also, I think I might have come up with a way of doing the ramp for this building so I don't have to make it my hangar, and I can still leave it as an option to have it being for something else. Let's put a 2x1 slope in here so I can get an idea of what I want it to be less steep than. I'm probably going to need to move this out even further in the future, but I didn't want to go too far with how much welding of the floor I'm going to have to do. So I thought I'd just stop here for now before I got even further carried away. There are some downsides to paving an area like this. One, it's going to make it very monotone. Two, it's actually harder to drive, I reckon, on blocks than it is on voxel. The wheels seem to interact with voxels in much nicer ways, so it's a little annoying on that front, but I think for this space it's the best option. I honestly don't know why I haven't made ramps like this before. I'm actually trying to think of any good reason not to with most of the ways that I've played. There have been a couple of times where I've played with cleanup on and something like this would have been deleted, but for the most part, having the ability to make perfectly smooth ramps that are just a separate grid is something I could have done, and I just don't know why I haven't done it before. Makes driving onto a surface like this so much nicer. On the other hand, welding up this whole surface, it's taken a while, and it's used up something like 4,000 steel plate. I am actually starting to run low on steel plate. Now, I'm not going to stress over that. It's very easy to get a lot more with all the scrap. But it still surprises me. Alright, we're over. Let's test it. Oh. Ah. So good. I'm taking a decent speed. It's fine. Don't even have to go up square. It's so subtle I can just roll over it from any angle. Yes. So happy. What the heck am I going to do with the connector though? So I am now at a very different height offset from the large grid blocks. So I can't take advantage of the half block that I lost in height due to being down on the voxel. Am I almost high enough to lock to a higher block? Maybe. Oh, yeah. That's so much better. Awesome. Don't need the height offsets on my hotbar anymore. Probably won't get rid of them, but I don't need them. This, however, needs to have a connection. I can't leave it hooked up to the crane truck when I disconnect from the server, as it has a tendency to clang out. I've gotten lucky with it before, but I don't really want to continue to take that risk. So I would like to make a little connection spot for it. I think, to begin with, let's put it in this warehouse. I need to make the doorway a little bit wider. So I'm going to take out that and that. And then much like the connection, whoop, let's lose that too. Much like the connection for the telehandler, I'm going to use a connector in the ground. Oh yeah, speaking of the ground's back. Dirt is there in the corner. Well, it's not too much. It's a little bit, but it's not too much. Oh, I really like this space now. Thought I was going to hate it with the dull grey of the concrete everywhere. Oh, I'm out of computers. Oh. Oh. I mean, oh, I'm out of computers. But really, I'm out of computers. That means I have a reason to go scrapping. And it's a very specific thing to go and find. That makes me happy. Get just enough computers for what I need from this. But I'm effectively out. I have a goal. I have an immediate goal. I like an immediate goal. Oh, not turn off. Switch lock. You too tall? Oh no. Oh no. It's too tall. I'm gonna lose some of the door. I think that still looks okay. Height offsets. How's this gonna work? That's not great. But It's just shown there. If I increase the strength on the connectors, they actually end up... Oop. So if I increase the strength on the connectors, they actually end up levitating, and that might get it to just about the right height. Oh, it was too slow. This might get these close enough that they'll be able to lock. Yeah. And locked. Now it can charge. Now, I was thinking about this thing that I've got as my connection. In this case, in the warehouse, I think I might turn this into a set of stairs so that I can walk up onto the back of the truck. The way I might do that here, I want to keep using corrugated. I probably don't because it's kind of a bit much. Battered? Rusty. Heavy rust? Rusty. Maybe. So to make stairs work in small grid, you just got to use half blocks. And the character can walk straight up half blocks. So I can just walk straight up that. Which I just quite like because it's not a ramp. We use a lot of ramps, but I just like this because it's still blocky and chunky and different. Something that's not always obvious in these videos is the number of cool things that are happening between other people on this server at the same time that I'm on, or during the week when I'm not. Just while doing this recording, I'm reading comments from our Discord server of someone who ran out of power with only a bit of time left this week to play, and how someone else came along, took time out of their own day, came along, charged up their rover, gave them enough charge so that they could get home, gave them somewhere to spawn so that they could jump in and do things. It's just really cool to see. I remember when I played on the Draconis servers for my Escape from Purgatory series, and there were some similar things that happened there. Environments like this that are so difficult just seem to bring players together to help each other out in fun ways. And I find that side of multiplayer so much more engaging and interesting than any sort of contest. I have fun with like silly contests like what we did last week with the forklifts and stuff. But man, so much more interesting than a bit of combat for me. I know there are those out there who live for the combat and that's everything they want, but that just ain't me. Okay, let's see how I feel about this thing. It's something. It's not my best construction. It's not my worst. It's certainly not my worst. Would a barrel up here look interesting? I think it could. Let's give it a different color. This yellow one. I'm going to try and each week add a little decorative thing like this around the base. At least one of them. The more I do that, the more this place is just going to come alive and feel really fun. For me, every time I come in. Because that could have just been a connector. But no, now it's a little thing with a barrel on top of it. It's got its own little carrot. It's got its own character to it. And just to go with the barrel on there, I'm going to put another set here too. I think I'm going to put a lot of barrels and a lot of crates around the place. Oh, I'd been forgetting that the barrels were there. Just such a nice bit of scrappy decoration. And something that I'm definitely going to be needing to add to various bits of scrap around, like in the mod, and maybe even adding some new bits of scrap to the mod that use them, because I don't think I really have them in there much, and they would look so good in so many of the builds. Yeah. Flatliner in the garage. I'll make a similar connection for the telehandler in there too, which I think will be good. Now, ramp for this was my next job, wasn't it? Oh. Huh. Something I've never done, but I'm just wondering whether I could actually make it worthwhile. Turning something like this into a work light. If I'm working on a build, could I bring something like that with me with a light on it and just use it? Give me some extra area lighting. Would be nice. Need to try and remember that. I had an idea of how I could make a ramp work here. Even though I'm not going to be able to use voxels to snap to. The idea I had was actually to try and do it with mag plate. There's a large grid mag plate placed, like locked at a useful angle here, could actually work. The thing is, I think I'm going to need to put it in position with the telehandler. So let's give it a go. See if I can make this work. Not what I expected to use the telehandler for, but I think it's probably better equipped for this than my crane. So my hope is that I can lock it to the building, not to the ground. The reason for that is if I lock this to the building and I get the top surface lined up nice and neatly to the edge there, then it should just work. Except as long as I get an angle that finishes on here. This is actually going to be really tricky. Ugh. This is going to be a lot trickier than I thought. I might... I have not thought this through. I just realized that there are other factors I need to think about. And the way I'm going to deal with that is I'm actually just going to make the whole ramp. Well, much of the ramp. So if I do this... Because I want a 4-to-1 gradient, rather than the 2-to-1 that we normally deal with. If I stick that on the side there... Actually, I need to balance this so that it's level when I pick it up. Okay. If I do that, then we go and pick this up. I'm locked. We'll grind these off. They're just getting in the way. Then, I should be able to lift this up. Adjust the angle of it. And the position of it. Until it's basically in the right spot. So the reason I wanted the mag plate at the building end of this rather than at the crane, rather than at the other end, the ground end, I guess, is because you can see if I want this to smoothly transition to the ground end, I need to not have a giant mag plate in the way. No, can't get close enough. Does this feel to walk on anyway? It did work so well. Nuts. I thought that was going to lock because you can lock onto the side. I thought this would lock. No. Okay. So the other idea I had was actually to make this in small grid. See if we can make that work. If I didn't have something like the telehandler, I'd probably have been best off for something like this, simply building a rig here on a piston and on a hinge, and then trying to align it here manually just off its own grid. But I do have it, so I'm going to do it this way. Put this over here for the moment. Okay, those are ready to lock. That means this should work. I just got to now place down the other block so I can make sure it's all aligned correctly. Then lock it in place. And hopefully never destroy those locks, because if I do, it's all going to fall down and it's going to be really sad. Because I'd have to do it all over again. Alright. Lock down. Let's get a whole bunch of girders, place out the ramp, and see what it's like to drive on. Oh, that's a bit annoying. This isn't straight. I don't even know how to make it go to being perfectly straight. That sits off the ground. I don't like that. This is tricky. I didn't think this was going to be so tricky. Poop. So this is the apparatus I have ended up with in order to try and make this ramp work. I have built a hinge so that I could convert to small grid. And I've added a piston for forward and back movement, piston for up and down, and a hinge to get the angle correct. Because honestly, I did not see a way for me to get this done otherwise. Now I need to just keep adjusting this until that touches the ground and this end is able to lock. Okay. This rig's actually worked out really well. And I didn't overcomplicate it. Overcomplicated it? Overcomplicate it. And look at that. I mean, I've overcomplicated building a ramp. I can't deny that. But the rig for building the ramp, the rig for building the overcomplicated ramp is not overcomplicated. I think I've lost my own point there. Make this wide enough so that there's a bit of leeway in how wide the... Now, I was corrected on this. I've said wheelbase in the past, but it's how wide the track of the vehicle is. I want a little bit of flexibility there. Alright. You are my test vehicle. Oh. That is actually quite nice. I drove up and down that really easily. I mean, this thing can handle a 2x1 slope, so a 3x1 or just over that this is obviously not going to cause it any grief. I like that, and I like it in the barred windows. Because I think it makes it a little less weird that it's all just kind of floating out here. I was debating on how difficult it would be to make it look like it was supported by putting in blocks over here, but I think the angle is so wrong, it's just going to look weird if I did anything like that, so I think it's probably better to just leave it and just weld the whole thing up. No, I don't think rusty is the right look. I think heavy rust might actually be the go for this. Yeah. Stands out a little bit, not too much. There we go. Look at that. I'm actually happy even though I was doing the weird wow, can't speak. Moire effect. I think that looks even better than I had it before. Yes. I'm winning on the ramp front today. It's a slow process. It is a... Yeah, it's a tedious process. But I think it's so worth it having the ability to drive smoothly like that over so many different surfaces and different levels of something. And using the mag plates to be able to lock and put something in to do that is something I'm likely to use as a trick in the future, I think. Because there are a lot of situations where I'd like to have split levels just because it creates more interesting design. And being able to get a vehicle between those levels, a wheeled vehicle between those levels, without needing to get modded blocks into the game, that's great. Like, this could work in any circumstance where you can have cleanup off, which is mostly how I play. I don't tend to actually put the auto cleanup on. I tend to turn it off and then manually clean things up when performance gets a bit iffy, which I'm lucky enough to be able to do. Not everyone would be able to do that because performance could get iffy too soon, but if you were worried about that, what you could do is simply stick a small battery on the back of this. Because that small battery, if there's no lighting on this, there's nothing to draw power, it'll basically last forever, and I'll keep this a powered grid, which means the normal cleanup behaviors would not get rid of it. It's a powered player-owned grid, so it'd just stay forever. So that's another way to do it. Delightful. Delightful. Okay, I can't jump out of those holes. A little worried for a moment there that I was going to make myself trapped and had to grind my way out. No such thing as safety railing. Safety railing on vehicle ramps, I try to avoid building. It tends to get your wheels stuck in really awkward ways. So, I've used up all my computers, which means I need to go out and get computers. I have put my warehouse down, and I can now... should have charged this truck up pretty well by this point. My crane truck should be fully charged. I need to go out and find a few things. There are a few things I want to specifically find. Computers, obviously, because I need more computers to put down more things, and I actually want to find lots of little batteries so that I can put a bunch of streetlights out. I'm going to build something like that design that I tried to demonstrate, and if I've got, say, 8 or 10 of them, then I'll start putting them out, because I don't really want to put them out before then, because it's weird. But yeah, I want to find lots of little batteries, lots of computers, and I want to find a bar. If I can find that bar again, I'm bringing the whole bar home, because I want to have a bar in my little compound here. And, of course, as I mentioned, if I find one of those rail bridges, I'm bringing it home, and it is becoming my entryway sign. And then I can put something really big on it. I can use mag plates and do funny, clever, maybe, we'll see, things with small grid neons to write. So it's actually got neon writing on the side. I kind of want to do that. It depends. We'll see what the scale of the bridge allows me to get away with. I can't do a flickering neon because the only way to turn neon off is to depower the whole grid, which means you would have to find a way to power the whole grid back up again. Oh, actually, I can do that. Oh my gosh, I just thought of a way to do that. If I find myself a rail bridge, I'm going to make flickering neon. So there's all that and plenty more to come. And I will see you then.